Yeah. Hey, everybody, it's Kathy Boyle, president of Chapin Hill Advisors. Today, we're interviewing another member of our Circle of Influence, Tracy Enos. Tracy is in Missouri and she's a LinkedIn expert. So, we're going to get to that in just a minute. But the Circle of Influence was designed to allow you to have experts you can trust. Anybody who's in our Circle of Influence, you can trust that they will do what they tell you they would do. When you're looking for an expert, a lot of times you're in a hurry. You got a project you got to get done. You need a handyman in the house. You need your new wills and trusts, changing CPAs, got a tax deadline. And so you can make a mistake by using the wrong expert. This expert might have been great for your friend, but they're not the right person for you. Their expertise doesn't match or their communication style doesn't match. If you make a mistake with an expert, it's so expensive. You have to start all over again. You have to find another one. You tend not to trust the next one. You're going to ask them more questions and then you're going to complain about the first one possibly as well. So it's a giant waste of time and money. So we prefer you to get it right from the get-go. So let's talk to Tracy about her expertise, what she does, and how she can help you with your LinkedIn profile. So Tracy, LinkedIn is the largest content provider in the world. People, I think, don't realize that. It's also a big search engine, as you'll tell us. And then there's over 700 million users worldwide. So let's talk about mistakes. What are the top 3 mistakes people make with their profiles?
The first mistake that I'm finding is that people will just get on LinkedIn, or they've been on for, a long time and haven't done anything with it. And then all of a sudden decide that they're going to use it, but they don't sit down and define their business objectives or their goals for using LinkedIn. That's the first mistake. Second mistake is once they do start to use LinkedIn, they're not really identifying who their prospect is. So what they need to do is sit down and spend some time and do the foundation work. And that really, applies to any marketing campaign that you're going to do. But specifically for LinkedIn, you really need to do the behind the scenes work, which is defining who that prospect is, dive deep into their demographics and psychographics, brainstorm keywords, who's the competitor? What is it, the biggest fears and then the big desires that the prospect could have? And then the third mistake is once you have all this great information is how do we put it into a profile? And what I see most folks doing is they listen to all the other gurus and they say the only thing they need to do is their background photo, their headline, and their about section. You could be farther from the truth. We actually have a 28-point checklist that we actually have developed. So it's very, very thorough. Every section needs to be filled out if at all possible with the prospect in mind. And not to mention that it's also a profile, not a company page. So it's a personal profile. So you got to have the human aspect to it because people want to see if they can trust you and if you're likable, and that's a perceived trust because it's online. And so you've got to fill out the sections that most people forget about, like your organizations and the volunteer work, projects that you're particularly proud of, regardless of whether they, belong to your current, work experience or if it's in the past.
Got it. Love it. All right. Well, that's wonderful. I recently looked at a profile. He graduated Louisiana State in 98 and his work experience started in 14. And when I called him on it, it was somebody I was checking out for due diligence. And he said, oh, I don't use LinkedIn for marketing. And I'm like, okay. So let's talk about your process. How do you start? How long does it take? And what does that look like?
Well, the process simply starts with a strategy session because I really need to sit down and see if, we're going to be compatible working together. So I'll ask a lot of questions about them, their business, what their objectives and their goals are simply for using LinkedIn. We're going to identify, who's the competition, what is the competition doing that they think that they're not doing and could be doing. We'll really dive deep in about 30 to 45 minutes. Once we decide to work together, then it starts with a LinkedIn intake interview, especially if we're going to be making over profiles and company pages. And I will ask about every question under the sun that there is that follows that 28-point checklist that we have so that we can fill out their profile very thoroughly.
Okay, that's great. And then you do have a team with you. So it's not just you working on it. I understand you do a lot of the writing yourself. So what does a team look like?
We have a graphic team. I have got a couple gals that write for me, but I will say this, I'm really particular about my profiles, a little OCD, I guess you say, because I really think that is the most important piece to any marketing campaign on LinkedIn. even if it's a simple basic campaign, all the way to the more intermediate to advanced campaign.
Okay, and then just very briefly, your clients range from X to Y. Do you do corporations? Do you do individuals, professionals? Give me some sense of who you help.
Yeah, we've worked with everybody from the solo professional to the $50 million SaaS company with a large team. So in what capacity we work with them also, depends on, how they feel it would benefit them most within their company. A lot of times the solo professional has a little bit more time. And so they'll do done with you coaching, where we take them, by the hand every step of the way. They have homework and they complete each step so that they're implementing, other than us just, giving you all the information at once and then overwhelm sets in. Then the big teams, a lot of times will do the profile makeover for the CEO of the company, and then we'll train the sales and the marketing team to do it for themselves using the CEO's profile as a sample or an example I meant.
Perfect. That's great. And then you have a book and a new one coming out. What's the title of your book?
I do have a book. It came out in 2018. It's a little, well, LinkedIn's made a lot of changes, so it's a little obsolete, but there's a lot of good information still in there that's applicable. It's called LinkedIn Publishing to Profits. And the new book is coming out. It's going to have some of the information as the old book, but we're really updating it because LinkedIn has added a lot of new content features, a lot of things and fun things that you can do with LinkedIn that you didn't think you could.
I love it. Okay, and then how do we find you?
You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm the only Tracy Enos with a photo. Last time I checked, I think I was the first Tracy Enos ever on LinkedIn. And then you can also find me at tracyenos.com.
And Enos is spelled E-N-O-S.
Correct.
All right, wonderful. We're delighted to have you in our circle of influence.
Thanks, Kathy.